In this video, I'm going to show you what lookup table files or LUTs are and why you might want to use them. I'm going to do this within CapCut, but the same process and theory applies across whatever software you use. So we need to understand a few concepts first. So let's look at some of the base knowledge you need to have to really understand when and why you might want to use a LUT. So let's start with color correction versus color grading. What's the difference? When applying color correction, you're basically trying to make the colors of your footage as close to the real-life colors as possible. Color grading, on the other hand, is when you're applying an artistic or stylized look to your footage to create a certain vibe or ambience, and often to create consistency of color, mood, and style throughout your production. Now, the footage you record with your camera comes in a few different forms. If you're using some sort of automatic setting on your camera, the chances are you're recording in a format known as Rec 709 or maybe Rec 2020. Rec 709 is usually used for high definition or standard definition content, and Rec 2020 can be used for 4K, Ultra HD and HDR content. Rec 709 is a color standard often applied for high definition displays and content, and it's developed by the International Telecommunication Union. It acts as a common language between cameras and displays, defining a specific color range, also called a color gamut, and a gamma curve to ensure consistent color representation for HD content. While it's a crucial baseline for video production and broadcast, newer standards like Rec 2020 are used for Ultra HD and HDR content to capture a wider range of colors. However, you might have seen some different options too, like various log formats. Log footage looks flat and colorless, and if you've ever selected log on your camera without knowing what it is, you probably thought it looks terrible and quickly changed it to something else. However, log footage provides a wider range for color grading options, leading to more creative possibilities and a more professional look. Log video files are captured with a flat image profile to maximize the dynamic range, retaining significantly more detail in the bright highlights and dark shadows than standard video files. Its purpose is to provide greater flexibility for color correction and color grading in post-production, allowing filmmakers to recover more image information and create a more stylized final product. The difference between the two is the Rec 709 is a bit like an automatic color grading, whereas log footage needs to be converted to another format like Rec 709 in post-production in order to look normal. The advantage of log footage is that you have more control over the final result, allowing you to achieve a larger variety of stylized looks. So what's a LUT then? Well, a LUT or lookup table file is a data file containing a set of mathematical rules that map input colors to output colors in image and video editing. It acts like a color filter or a preset used to change the look of an image by applying predetermined adjustments to color, contrast, saturation, and other properties. LUTs are valuable tools for color correction and grading, standardizing colors across different devices, and achieving specific artistic looks or cinematic styles in post-production. And this is where a LUT file comes in really handy. It can take your footage and enhance it for you automatically, and this is especially useful when we're talking about converting log footage into Rec 709. The LUT file basically does this in a mathematical way that takes into account the input color and then grades it into an appropriate output color that should look good on whatever device you're viewing it on. The way the calculations work within the specific LUT file you use will produce the final look or style of the footage. There are two main types of LUT files, and which one you should use is based on the format in which you record your footage on your camera. The first is called a conversion or technical LUT. These often come from, for example, a camera manufacturer, and these are meant to be used on footage shot in log format, usually on that particular model or brand of camera. The second type of LUT is called a creative or stylized LUT, and this is usually meant to be used on footage shot in formats like Rec 709 to apply a specific look or mood to your footage. Now, if you're an amateur like me, sitting in a cupboard making videos about my thoughts and things I've learned during my YouTube journey, then you might value decent quality but without the extra work and nuances involved in things like manual color correction and grading. Most people don't have a calibrated or color accurate monitor, including me, and they don't know what they're doing anyway. So the best route here then might be to throw in a LUT and maybe make some minor tweaks, because spending ages is a waste of time, especially if you're not creating anything cinematic or any sort of artistic vlog, for example. And that's where LUT files come in so handy, because they do a lot of the work for you and give you a great starting point that's usually good enough to use as it is. Now, purists and experts in videography might tell you that you should manually color correct and grade. And yes, they will be able to achieve great results by doing so. But for my purposes, I don't want to or need to sit there for ages making adjustments and worrying about doing time-consuming processing that my viewers won't care about, notice, or appreciate anyway, and I don't have the equipment to do properly anyway. I love watching a professionally made video from time to time and appreciate the skill and artistic flair of the creator. But for my purposes, and probably yours too, as an average YouTuber, you don't really need to worry about all of this so much, especially at the start. So here, a LUT can be your best friend. It's like a shortcut to good enough, but by using log footage and a LUT, you're setting yourself up for future manual color correction and color grading if that's something you want to dive into later. So let's look at how we get LUTs and use them within CapCut. So a good starting point to get a LUT is to go to your camera manufacturer's page. So here we can see that I am on the DJI Pocket 3, the DJI website, and I've gone and searched here for DJI Osmo Pocket 3, and you can see here that there's one log to rec file here, one LUT, and this is going to take our log footage from the DJI Pocket 3 and it's going to turn it into a Rec 709 color space so it looks decent, because the original will be washed out. We'll look at that in a moment. Now here we can see Sony's LUTs, for example, on their website, and you can download some from various places here, and there's a whole bunch of them, and every camera manufacturer is going to have these options on their websites. One other way you can get them is to go to a website like Fresh LUTs, and this website, all you need to do is sign up for a free account and you can download a ton of different LUTs. So to find a LUT on here, we want to go to search, and then we want to go to gamma here, and here you can see all kinds of different camera manufacturers listed and different things you can do, and here is a DJI D-Log one, so I'm just going to click that because that's what I have, and then we just hit search, and you can see a bunch of LUTs pop up, and you can just basically download any ones you want because these are designed for the Pocket 3. Now, if we go into this light rays one, for example, what we can see is that this is designed for DJI D-Log footage. But if you see Rec 709 in one of these, then what that's going to mean is that they're meant to be applied to Rec 709 footage. So if we go back to search, I'm not sure if there's an option for that here. Yes, there is. Look, Rec 709. So let's search for some of them. So if you're shooting your footage in 709 already, which, as I said, is like automatic settings quite often on a camera, then you can use one of these that's meant for the Rec 709 color space to add what's effectively a filter. And here you can see what it would look like without and what it looks like with. So just download whatever LUTs that apply to your equipment or apply to whatever footage you've recorded, and then we'll head over to CapCut, get these in there and take a look at them. Okay, so here's a pre-made project I've just dropped a few video files into for the purpose of this video. And what we'll start by doing is getting our LUTs over into CapCut. So all you need to do is find the folder where you've downloaded all the LUTs to, just grab them all, and then just drag them over and drop them onto the import option in the LUTs section under adjustments. And there we'll see they all pop up, so we can get rid of that. So now we have a bunch of LUTs in here that we can select from, and you can see the names. If you want to see the full name, you just hover over the LUT. So let's grab a few of them and take a look. So here we just drag it onto the timeline. It creates an adjustment clip. And then what we can do is we can drag that clip out we can drag it to the entire range of our footage if we want to obviously apply it to the whole thing. The other way you can apply a LUT very quickly to the entire clip is to select the clip, and then you want to go over to the side menu here, and you want to click on Adjust, and then under LUT, you want to select whatever LUT it is you want. But I'm just going to do this version of it for now. So what we can see here then is this is the original footage from the camera shot in log or D-log, and here then comes in the LUT. So you can see straight away that it's a massive difference. And this is the DJI LUT that we're using now. Okay, so you can see the difference quite clearly there, I think, between the two. And then all we need to do is, if for some reason this doesn't look good, we just click on the adjustment clip and we go over to the side menu here. Now, the first and easiest way you can adjust some of this is to just take down the intensity, and obviously 0 will be no LUT and 50% will be half applied, and then you can just drag anywhere in between. Now, I quite like 100% on this one. And then what I want to also do is, perhaps if you want a certain look now, this is where you can make adjustments. So for example, the shadows, you might want to make it a little bit more cozy looking, which is the effect that I usually go for. So I usually tend to take down the shadows, and we can see the difference. Look, if I pull them back up and down. So it's just making the shadows darker. And you can also do the same thing with the blacks. Look, now this really has an effect, especially when you've messed with the shadows. But you can just dial it down so that the background is now almost invisible because I have a dark background. And then the focus is mainly on me. And then maybe you want to pull up the exposure a little bit or something like that to brighten yourself up. This is just down to how you want your footage to look. But for me, I think something like, let's say, that would be fine for me. And that is literally all I need to do. You apply the LUT file, you adjust a few settings to your liking, and you're done. Now let's take a look at some other LUTs just to have some examples. So here I have a different LUT. This is called Dreams, I believe. And I'm just going to drag the adjustment clip onto the timeline. So now what I can show you here is the difference between the two. You can see the original log footage, and then you can see how it looks when you apply the Dreams LUT that I downloaded. All of these are from the website I showed you, Fresh LUTs. Okay, and you can see the difference there. Now that looks pretty good. And for me personally, I like that outdoor look. I think it looks rich. And so I would go with that. Now what you can do, of course, is you can copy a LUT and paste it later on. And then you can see again the footage change. And what I can show you here is this shot of these blueberries I took. You can see quite a difference when the LUT is off and the LUT comes on. So there really are a ton of options and, of course, adjustments that you can make. I can tone this down a little bit if I think it's too much. There's the original. There's a little bit more. That looks good too, right? Depends how rich and colourful you want things. And it depends on the type of LUT you're using. Let's look at one more. So here we have some footage of a cityscape, and I'm going to apply this LUT, which was actually shown on a cityscape when I downloaded it. Now what you can see, if I just forward it, this changes the light. The clip changes light levels. It basically goes from day to night. You can see straight away the difference in the two. Now, this is not log footage. This is some pre-made footage within CapCut that I've just downloaded just to apply a LUT to, just to show you some differences. And here's another one. I don't know what it looks like on this one. I haven't even tested it, but here's another one. And you can see the difference there. Look, the difference in the way it looks. And of course, again, you can adjust to however you want it. And that does give it quite a nice, see the difference? Quite a nice moody look. So it really is about how you perceive things and your own artistic, if you like, desires for your footage and your videos. Just do what you think's best, but you can see that the LUT gives you a really good starting point. And it's an introduction to color correction and color grading, because if you further down the line want to do more of that, then by applying a LUT, you get a good starting point, and then you can tweak things from there and make it kind of easier for yourself. Now, there'll be people who tell you that you have to do it all from scratch and blah, 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 and that's fine. But do you want to sit there for hours? Does your video even need that? Mine don't. I'm sitting here in an office, a cupboard, talking to you. Doesn't need that. That is basically how to use a LUT and how to improve the footage that you shoot on your camera. Very simply, very easily. And once you've got these, they're in your editing software and you can just apply them to whatever footage you have every time, because they'll be there as defaults. I hope that's helped. If you have any questions about anything, just let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, take care. Thanks for watching.